So here we are, Corona Chronicles, and we're right in the middle of these couple of chapters that are pretty scary and very dark, but actually expressing what is going on in our world. The series of 7 that we're on at the moment is the trumpets. And in chapter 8, we've already had 4 trumpets blown by 4 angels. And as those trumpets are blown, a third of the land and a third of the sea and a third of the rivers and springs and a third of the sky, the heavens, are taken away. A third meaning partial. It's partial judgments to warn us that there really is a full judgment coming. And that's what's going on here. And then we had the eagles, or vultures, as they could be interpreted or translated. And they're in the sky going, whoa, whoa, whoa. And when you see an eagle, there's death, read the signs. Now we're in chapter 9, and we're going to read the first 12 verses, and we're going to see the 5th trumpet blown. So, chapter 9, verse 1, the 5th angel sounded his trumpet, and I saw a star that had fallen from the sky to the earth. The star was given the key to the shaft of the abyss. When he opened the abyss, smoke rose from it like the smoke from a gigantic furnace. The sun and the sky were darkened by the smoke from the abyss. And out of the smoke locusts came down on the earth, and were given power like that of scorpions of the earth. They were told not to harm the grass of the earth or any plant or tree, but only those people who did not have the seal of God on their foreheads. They were not allowed to kill them, but only to torture them for 5 months. And the agony they suffered was like the sting of a scorpion when it strikes. During those days, people will seek death, but will not find it. They will long to die, but death will elude them. The locusts looked like horses prepared for battle. On their heads they wore something like crowns of gold, and their faces resembled human faces. Their hair was like women's hair, and their teeth were like lions' teeth. They had breastplates like breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was like the thundering of many horses and chariots rushing into battle. They had tails with stings like scorpions, and in their tails they had power to torment people for 5 months. They had as king over them the angel of the abyss, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in Greek is Apollyon, that is, destroyer. The first woe is past. 2 other woes are yet to come.
Yeah, and again, looks more chaos sort of ensuing on the earth. But again, what really stands out to me is probably just because you're looking for things like this in chaos. But I see God's control and sovereignty even here. It's just littered with clues of it throughout this whole passage. So at the beginning, we see that this star that falls is given the key to the shaft of the abyss. So all of this stuff is locked away. It's not coming out on its own accord like a prison riot that's got out of control, but a key has been given. So it's under God's control, and then you get things like they're told not to do this, they're told they can only do that, and the power that they have is given to them that you see. So they've got this power, but it's been given to them by God.
It's limited, isn't it? Yeah. And so God is the one in control, or Jesus is the one in control of these angels and trumpets and the things that are coming out. Absolutely. But having said that, it is still quite scary stuff, isn't it? And I think in one way we're meant to be scared, because this is satanic power we're talking about. So Satan is on a leash. We'll see that in chapter 20 actually, but he's let out to do certain amount of harm. And under Christ's control, and some of it is just dark. It's dark, isn't it? So, for a start, he's called at the end of of this passage, Abaddon, which I think is a great name for
a bad guy,
Satan, or Apollyon, but he's the destroyer, and that's what Satan is about.
Yes.
He's a liar from the beginning, and he's a murderer from the beginning.
Yeah.
He doesn't bring life. He is out to bring death.
Yeah.
And if we are choosing Satan over God, then that is what you're going to get. Death, even though Christ is holding him back.
Yeah, and this is, so he's a king over these things that are destructive. Might be a bit of a sideline, but I think about Jesus when he's talking to the Pharisees and he says, your father is Satan, because they're destroyers, really. They're not pointing people to the God of life. And as a result, their king also is the same king here that is destroying. So it's either Jesus as your king, or it's this king.
Yeah. And so you've got this picture of this smoke rising, and then you find out that it's actually locusts, and that's what happens, isn't it? I mean, we don't have it in our country, but I mean there was locusts in Africa only a few months ago, and it was 25 miles across.
Gosh.
The locusts. I mean, that's like the whole of the all of the people in the M25 would be under a cloud of locusts.
And it's just black, is it?
And it's just black.
Yeah.
And I think the idea that is given is that these locust things, this smoke is what we breathe in. It's the atmosphere. It's the lies of Satan, the lies of this world that's going on here. In other words, it influences everything we do.
Yeah, and they've got the power to sting. Which I guess awful things that happen to us, maybe also things that we become addicted to. Well,
it does feel like a sting. Does feel like an injecting sort of poison into you, doesn't it?
Yes.
And the people. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because when the sting stings these people, they want to die, but they can't die. And there is a thing, isn't there, in our addiction where that life, even life, is empty.
Yeah.
And we're filled up with this poison, and we don't even know what life is about. It's that sort of stuff, isn't it?
And the people who seem to be most afflicted here are those who don't have the seal of God on their foreheads. So even though I think as Christians we still live in this world and we're still subject to physical suffering and pain, death for us is not the end. We know that there's a greater hope. So it's not that we're longing to sort of extinguish the flame and cease our existence. We long for a resolution to all of this stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the famous sayings are, if you get rid of God, you'll believe in anything, sort of thing. And there is, I forget the exact statement, but that's what happens, isn't it? If you don't believe in something, you believe in anything.
Yeah.
And then when you believe lies and falsehoods of Satan, you start. It becomes a non-life, doesn't it? It's like atheism, isn't it? It gets rid of God. Well, if there is no God, it's all right for the intellectuals in their homes with all their money to cope with the idea, perhaps. But if there is no God, then I can live how I like. And if I live how I like, then I suddenly get addicted to things. Or what is the point of life? I want to die, but I can't die. I'm too scared to kill myself. Or, all of that. Meaning goes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty hopeless, isn't it? What do you make of the women's hair and the lion's teeth?
Well, I think it's describing their power and influence over us. So the lion's teeth is brutal and vicious, and it will destroy you. The women's hair is seductive and beautiful, and it's quite attractive, and I'm pretty well going to get into that. And that's what happens. The world of satanic activity draws people in. I mean, people watching the internet, they're drawn in by the beauty of women's bodies, and pornography takes over, and we're addicted to our little dark rooms looking at little events that are posed for us to get taken up with. It's quite a horrible, sickly world. It's attractive, but it's vicious, it destroys all of that.
Yeah, and it gets you sort of once it's in, I suppose. You won't see those teeth bared until you've been sort of drawn in to it.
And so this is the first woe.
Yeah.
So we had the vultures going, woe, woe, woe. This is the first woe listen, look, see what's going on in our world. Now, this is all we've got to finish, but this is why in chapter 7, if you're sealed by the blood of the Lamb, there is a different life to live for. We'll leave it there, I think.